My name is Charles Williams. I am the owner and managing member of Pioneer Realty Capital. We're certainly happy to have you here. If you've been viewing our podcast, you've been exposed to some valuable information, and today it's going to get even better because we have with us today Mr. Gene Pak. Gene is with Bank of Hope, and Gene, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Charles.
Now, how many SBA loan programs do you represent, or how many loan programs are there, and what's the difference between the various SBA programs?
SBA loan program mainly divide into two categories,
Okay.
called SBA 7A loans
Right.
and SBA 504 loans. So 7A usually covers all the business transactions.
Okay.
If the business owner is trying to buy small business or medium-sized business or try to sell their business, in that transaction, mostly covered by 7A program.
Okay.
And for 504 is mainly conducted under the commercial real estate transaction.
Okay.
So it's some business owners trying to buy their own building,
Mm-hmm.
their own building for their own use. That's mostly fall under 504 program.
Okay, that makes sense. So does that mean that under the SBA 7A program that I can't get a loan for commercial real estate?
No, absolutely not. Under the 7A loan program, you could do both.
Oh, I see.
For example, if someone buys a liquor store
Mhm.
business with the building, that fall into the program of under 7A program.
Mm.
Because they're buying a business plus the building.
Mhm.
If in that case, it fall into under SBA 7A loan program.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
So, and then the 504 program, how is that typically structured? Is the entire loan guaranteed by the SBA under 504, or just a portion of it? How does that work?
You're right, just portion of it, to be clear. 504 loan structure goes like this. If someone buys $1 million worth of a warehouse,
Mhm.
then 50% of it, first trust deed will be provided by correspondence banks
Okay.
under their commercial loan program.
Mhm.
Then another 40% will be provided by CDC, which is a government guaranteed nonprofit organization
Mhm.
who provide SBA loan program
Mhm.
through their organization. Then client or borrower needs to come up with 10% capital injection to make up the whole 100%.
Oh, wow.
So 50% by correspondence banks, 40% by SBA, which is guaranteed, 100% guaranteed by SBA, then a 10% capital injection from the borrower.
Wow, so that means if you are a small business owner and you want to purchase your own real estate and you don't have a lot of capital to put into the deal,
Sure.
you can use the 504 program to get 90% financing on your deal. Is that correct?
Sure, that's correct.
Wow.
Mhm.
Now, I would imagine though that doesn't apply to all asset classes, correct?
No, it doesn't. Under 504 program, there's categorized property types.
Mm-hmm.
If the property types categorized under specialty product type,
Mm-hmm.
which belongs to, which has like hotel motels,
Mm-hmm.
car wash, coin laundry, those type of property types
Mm-hmm.
falling under specialty product type.
Oh, I see.
And that requires at least 15 to maybe up to 20% capital injection from the borrower,
Okay, okay.
not just 10%.
Right, but those type of properties would be difficult to finance anyway
Sure.
without the SBA. So even though you don't get necessarily the high leverage, you do have an opportunity to finance those particular assets under the 504
Sure,
program.
absolutely. Because
But-
most of the major banks will not finance on hotel, motel, gas stations,
Mm.
and car wash, those type of property types.
Okay, well, wow, that's very good. So now, I want to get back to something that you mentioned because this is very interesting. you guys are mainly on the West Coast
Mhm.
and in the South, Mid-South,
Mhm.
but you cover all over the United States
Yes,
How-
under our SBA loan program.
under the SBA loan program. So how are you originating deals for, let's say, for instance, a deal in Kansas City or Florida? How are you originating deals in those states if you don't have branches in those states?
Because we're very friendly to the commercial real estate brokers and loan brokers and professional like yourself.
Okay.
We have our referring sources
Mm-hmm.
who could refer the SBA loan cases to us throughout the nation.
Uh-huh.
So we always work with the commercial real estate brokers and commercial loan brokers around the nation. And at the same time, we have our retail branches around the nation, West Coast, Chicago area, Mid-South, and East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we have about 12 to 13 marketing personnel
Mm-hmm.
who just focus on SBA loan marketing
Mm-hmm.
throughout the nation,
Uh-huh.
covering like state of Washington, Northern California, East Coast, New York, New Jersey, Georgia. So we have presence all over the nation. At the same time, brokers, they just don't refer case within their own state.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they have client out of state, like Alaska or Hawaii, or sometimes in Kansas, like yourself.
Wow.
We'll cover those areas, all 50 states under our SBA loan program.
Wow, very good. And one interesting thing, we've had the privilege of doing business
Sure.
with Bank of Hope for some time, and the way that our relationship is structured, in general, there's no additional cost to the client,
Mhm.
and that way, that client can get the expertise of a company like ours that
Sure.
will allow them to put their loan package together,
Sure.
which sometimes can be very complicated. Get it structured properly, and then it's submitted to a firm like Bank of Hope.
Sure.
And so they get all those services, and they're not necessarily paying any additional out-of-pocket expense
Sure.
to have that loan funded.
And my advice to the borrowers, all the borrowers out there,
Mhm.
is be prepared when you deal with the lender.
Right.
If you're not prepared and try to deal with the lender and try to get finance on the deal that you wanted, you probably will have lesser chance to get the financing.
Yeah.
So please get a help like Charles here, and be prepared yourself financially with the down payment sources and everything else with the documents.
Right. Yeah.
So that way you will get you will be prepared to get those financing done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that makes a lot of sense. I can't tell you, especially in working with small business owners,
Sure.
most of them are really, really good at what they do. Maybe they sell widgets or make widgets,
Mhm.
but they're not necessarily finance professionals.
Absolutely.
And sometimes when you submit an incomplete package and it goes all the way to credit,
Mhm.
the deal could be sound, but because of the way the deal has been prepared, that deal sometimes can be declined.
Sure. Absolutely.
And so that's why it's good to get some financial assistance.
Mhm.
Now, the federal government does not reward that; they actually penalize that. But we figured out a way to work around that,
Mhm.
right?
Sure. Of course.
So, so now help me understand something because I know that you have dealt with the full spectrum
Mhm.
of clients in your career,
Mhm.
and you've seen the broker side. You've been on the direct lender side with Bank of Hope. And you have no doubt been able to identify clients that are preferred and those clients that are not preferred.
Mhm.
What would you say is your ideal client?
Ideal client will be any small or medium-sized business owners who's trying to have their business goal in order for them to success in their own field.
Mm-hmm.
Try to expand their business, or try to start new business, or try to have their own building. Those type of clients are idealistic for us, all of them actually. So any small and medium-sized business owners try to expand their business or try to have their next step goals, next level goals, then those type of clients that they are idealistic for all our SBA loan programs.
Okay, perfect. So a customer who's maybe been in business a couple of years,
Sure.
they're looking to expand, acquire a building, if it on the commercial real estate side.
Sure.
If they are trying to maybe acquire a business like a franchise,
Sure.
that's for the SBA 7A. In terms of their financial profile, though, what are some pointers that you might give a borrower, prospective borrower, who's looking to acquire a loan? What should they have prepared financially? What should their financial condition be?
Okay. The first thing is when you deal with commercial real estate or any type of real estate, everybody will say location and location and location.
Okay.
Right? For the financing side, everything is about tax returns, and tax returns. So you need to work with your CPA or financial advisor or financial advisor like yourself. Try to be prepared financially on the documentation. That way, as a lender, all we can review your financial is through the tax returns.
Right.
So try to get a help on the tax return and financial documents and entity document as well. And plus the sources of down payment is very important too. The money has to be seasoned and cannot be borrowing sources. So for example, if you try to utilize your company line of credit as a down payment sources, try to buy warehouse, it does not qualify.
Right.
So be prepared financially, especially on tax returns.
Okay.
So work with the professional like yourself.
Yeah. So I know it's sometimes as business professionals, we try to limit our tax liability.
Sure.
And we go find that really slick CPA or tax preparer, and he's going to apply every loophole, credible or not, to reduce the tax liability.
Sure.
But the problem is if the company on its tax returns is not showing any income, it's going to be hard for anyone to loan the money.
Sure, absolutely.
So if you're a business owner and you think you're growing and one day you want to buy your own building, you're going to have to suffer a little bit of tax liability. We have to see that your business is actually profitable and that you can generate a return.
Sure.
Now some CPAs and tax preparers, are able to properly advise you on how to, minimize your tax liability, maximize your profit so that you can purchase that building. For instance, let's say that you're paying rent and you've identified that you can buy a building and your payment on the new building is less than the rent that you're paying. We call that a rent replacement deal. And so we add that rental expense back because we know that money is going to be redeployed to cover the expense of the new building, right?
Yes.
So if we were to give some advice to our folks, good documentation, and we say this on almost every show, if you give us a personal financial statement, we're gonna check to see if the money actually exists. That's what you meant by seasoning.
Sure.
Right? We go back and see that money has been in the bank for quite some time, and then we're also going to look at those financial records that you submit to the federal government. So can you provide any additional information that might assist our audience in terms of obtaining an SBA loan from a bank like yours?
Sure. Like I said, again, be prepared financially and especially on documentation with your entity documents and tax returns. And like I said again, be prepared with the down payment sources. It's
Mhm.
very important. And my advice to you is try to get a professional help when you prepare for your financing request, especially for SBA side or commercial side as well.
Right.
So, get advice from a professional like Charles here. That way you could be prepared to deal with the lender and not failing for your financial goal.
Right, right. It certainly is the difference between a successful transaction and one that's not successful. Well, we covered a lot of information today about SBA loans, 7A loans, 504 loans, but it was not comprehensive by any means. There's a lot that you can learn. So we want to invite you to continue to watch our podcast. If you have any specific questions about SBA 7A loans or 504 loans and how those deals are structured, please write that in the comment section. If you liked our broadcast today, as well as any of our podcasts, please hit that little like symbol. That shows us that what we're doing is actually working. And then, of course, we want to invite you to subscribe to our podcast. We're going to continue to try to have professionals in, our capital partners, to talk to us about our various loan programs so that we can help our audience to be in the best position to obtain a commercial real estate loan. So,
Sure.
Gene, I want to thank you for coming out all the way from California
Thank you.
to see us here. We look forward to doing more business with you,
Absolutely.
and hopefully we can have you back on the show in the future.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
All right, no problem.
Thank you,
Thank you. And thank you, guys.
Thank you.